Dee, you just had your first full-blown vegetable garden. What was the experience like? How did it feel?
Oh my gosh, it truly was incredible and also very surprising because one of the biggest impacts it had was on my mental health. And in this video, I'll talk about all of the changes I experienced in my mental health, as well as how it deepened connections to my family. And Dirt Magicians, if you stick around till the very end of the video, I'll share some tips of what I've learned and how I can triple my harvest in my container garden. So make sure you stick around till the very end.
Can't wait to hear what your experience was.
Yeah, well, since last September, I was experiencing a lot of personal challenges that you're aware of. And last fall and then last winter and even kind of coming into the spring, I was having a lot of mental health issues. And the way that it was manifesting was really in my nervous system getting super dysregulated from all of the stress and the pressures. So the way it was manifesting was like a low-level anxiety, not really being able to sleep very well, feeling ungrounded, just feeling exhausted all the time, and not being able to just relax and kind of not feeling like myself. So what happened with the garden, just having a garden where I was growing both vegetables as well as flowers, is that it brought in a lot of natural life. It brought in the birds, it brought in the bees, it brought in like myriads of beneficial insects. Brought in the squirrels, which were stealing my tomatoes, but that's another story. They're so cute. I don't mind sharing the produce with them. And then we had this schedule through the spring and the summer where I was going out into the garden about 1 day a week to work on the garden. And what I found was that it did miracles for me. It just really sort of like grounded me to be in nature, to be in the garden amongst wildlife. And every time I was in the garden for the week after that, I would just feel so much more myself.
Wow, that's so great to hear. And yeah, when we were in there 1 day a week, it was a full day, right from morning till dusk, both filming and then gardening as well. I personally found I would be physically exhausted by the end of it, but in that like really good, wholesome way.
Yeah, it was physically tiring, but not mentally, and it made a huge difference because the one thing that I observed is that I could even sleep much better, and I just felt very grounded. And in fact, there's enough research, which I looked up later, to corroborate that if you're out in nature, especially your garden, and you're kind of like touching the earth and touching soil, that it can be very grounding for the body.
That's crazy that you're able to feel those physical health benefits. That's wonderful.
Totally. And then, since the fall, I haven't been gardening as much anymore, and I can see that I'm getting dysregulated again. So it's very palpable.
Wow. And Dirt Magicians, let us know in the comments what mental health benefits you've received from gardening. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, the next benefit was that I loved sharing the garden with my daughter Aria, because this is the first time I've had a full-fledged garden, and she got to be a part of the process right from the beginning till the end, right from the point when I was tending to the little seedlings all the way till harvest and planting even the fall-winter garden. So that was incredibly exciting for her, just to be as grounded and in touch with nature, the elements, and growing her own food. And she just loves hanging out in the garden, period.
And she loves the shovel. And she also loves it when you tap the like button to help our channel grow and support us.
That's true. She does love the shovel. She loves the like button. And the most important thing that she loves is digging all sorts of very big trenches in the garden.
It's true.
And filling them with water. So she basically throughout the garden just created a whole bunch of moats that Brie and I had to jump over. And the most important thing that she loves doing is harvesting and eating right off of the plant. That's one of her favorite things, to go in and find ripe tomatoes, ready to eat peas and beans, and just like grab them and eat them. It was so rewarding. Yeah, and I loved how she watched us doing this together. Like, you and I were a community of 2.
Well, a community of 3 if we include Aria.
That's true. So one of the most powerful things that I observed is that as Aria is growing up and she's watching us do things together, which is like growing together, working together, harvesting together, it links us back to how our ancestors did things, which is that they were connected to each other, but they were also connected to the earth. And that can be incredibly healing on so many different levels. And what was also powerful is that I think gardening should be done socially on a regular basis. It's too much of a lone sport. And I think if a couple of friends come together and start growing food together, it can be incredibly rewarding and supporting for each other.
I love that idea. I really, really love this idea of working with either friends or family. I think it allows you to be social in a very different way. And I think it gives you more time to be social because it's a lot of energy and effort to, go out for dinner or, plan something that sort of get curated. We just don't have that much time in our current society. So I love the idea of doing work in a social way. I think we see this a lot more in rural spaces than we do in urban spaces.
Yeah, that's true. In urban spaces, everything is architected to be in silos. So people are not necessarily coming together and working together or growing food together, for sure.
So did you find that those garden circles helped kind of reinforce this idea of gardening in community?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I love the California garden circles. And so Dirt Magicians, just to give you some context, we were helping gardeners on Instagram come together as a garden circle where they would meet once a month and discuss different ideas and share tips and tricks. Even though we're up in the Pacific Northwest, we were testing the idea of garden circles. So what was interesting is that not only was this enjoyable for California gardeners, it was also super enjoyable for us as gardeners because it put us in a community of other like-minded peers who speak the same language and share the same passion that nobody else understands. And so being in community, what I found personally was that I felt seen and I felt listened to and I felt connected with similar people. And then second, I learned a lot. Way more than I would have learned just like watching their reels on Instagram. Because gardeners have a depth of experience and they try many different things and there's no one way to do things. So it was incredibly profound for me to be in community and for you as well to learn from these super experienced gardeners to speak the same language. And then most importantly for me, I felt like I was a part of community, which was great for my mental health.
Wow, those are so many benefits. I have to say, one of my favorite things about the garden circles was having somebody understand on the deep level my frustration with rodents in the garden and the destruction that they caused. Also, Dirt Magicians, if you want to see what we talked about in these garden circles, we actually recorded the entire sessions and they're up on our Instagram channel, so feel free to check it out. And while we really loved this experience, the other thing that we learned about these garden circles is that because gardening is a hobby, it's not a job, people aren't really wanting to commit to coming once a week together. It's a lot of work for them to open their schedules up for it. So I don't know it's something we'd be able to run in the same capacity in the future.
Yeah, that's right. Because gardening is a hobby, it's probably not viable for people to attend garden circles on a monthly basis. But while it lasted, it was powerful to have that community and it really was very enriching to my life, to our lives, and to our knowledge as gardeners. So I valued it while I was there.
And we're deeply appreciative of all of those that were part of that process and who did commit for those 5 to 6 months.
Yes, for sure, 100%. And the last benefit that I experienced of having this sweet little garden, which is kind of the obvious one, is the harvest. I used to love collecting the harvest, especially if it was a really colorful harvest.
Which they were.
Yes, and Instagramming them, because everything has to go on Instagram. Sharing that with friends and family who can participate in that process. And then, I have a big family of 5, so actually enjoying the produce from the garden, because nothing tastes as good as fresh ingredients that are from your garden. That garden to table experience is indescribable. So my mom would turn them into really delicious recipes. And
so delicious.
And we as a family got to enjoy them. So that was an incredible health benefit as well, but very nourishing on so many levels.
I love that for you.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And then the other thing that I learned is how much I can grow just in containers.
Oh, really?
Just between all of the peas and the beautiful, delicious pink burlati beans, the hundreds and hundreds of tomatoes, the peppers, the chilies, the squashes. It was really amazing how much I was able to grow and how much our family was able to harvest and eat. And that's mostly because of the succession planting that you taught me.
Yeah, that's true. In that one container, we would have like leafy greens in the spring, and then we would switch those heat-loving vegetables like peppers and tomatoes for the summer. And then when those finished, we then added the pak choys and the other sort of fall winter veg for the fall. So yeah, you kind of got like 3 vegetables per container.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dirt Magicians, if you want to learn how we planned using succession planting, then we have a mini course for you, all about garden planning and the growing requirements that your different plants need. We provide tools that will help you plan a garden no matter the type of space that you have, and we include important lessons like succession planning, which allows you to have harvests all season long. So check the link in the description box below for more information on that mini course.
Yeah, Brie, I think all of your experience around garden planning and also succession planting is what truly helped maximize my growing space. And I still can't believe how much I was able to grow in just such a small space with just a few containers. And those grow bags were a real gift. So if you want to learn how to grow in grow bags, Dirt Magicians, there's a few adaptations that you're going to have to make if you want to really succeed with them. So click on this video and then you'll be able to see how you can maximize growing in grow bags.